Safa going to Al-Marwa and coming back from Al-Marwa towards Al-Safa are made like into a building. This is all inside Al-Masjid. However, that part was originally outside the sacred mosque, and we will understand soon the benefit of being separate from the masjid. But if you're in right now and you happen to join the Jama'ah, you're considered as praying inside the masjid. So these two hills are just walking steps away, especially As-Safa, from Al-Kaaba.
What are some of the other conditions of a sa'i?
A sa'i would require, number one, to perform tawaf before a sa'i. You cannot just do sa'i, then do tawaf afterward. But the order is very, very important, as you cannot just commence on performing tawaf without assuming the intention of performing either Hajj or Umrah, or knowing exactly what is the purpose of your visit, which is through the ihram. As-sa'i is walking between As-Safa and Al-Marwa with the intention of performing ibadah, an act of worship. So it's got to be in order after at-tawaf. It requires that the person makes 7 rounds. Many people get confused when I say 7 rounds or 7 trips, so that they assume that going back and forth, round trip, they count it as 1. No. 7 trips from As-Safa to Al-Marwa, this is 1. Coming back from Al-Marwa towards As-Safa, 2. Going to Al-Marwa again, 3, and so forth. So now if you begin with As-Safa and you're supposed to make 7 trips, you would end up where at the 7th trip? At Al-Marwa. Once you reach to Al-Marwa on the 7th time, you've done. You don't need to make it 14 times as some do by counting round trip as just 1.
What about the issue of tahara, which is required for other acts of worship? Do you have to make wudu to perform a sa'i? Or if you break your wudu, do you have to stop? What is the requirements?
You see, I did not mention amongst the requirements of a sa'i at-tahara, because it is not a requirement as the case of performing tawaf. At-tahara is a requirement for performance of tawaf. But a sa'i, no. And that's why when the Prophet ﷺ notes that Aisha had her period, may Allah be pleased with her, he said to her that do everything that the Hajj would do except a tawaf. So if a woman had performed tawaf al-ifada, for instance, and all of a sudden she got the period, in this case she may perform sa'i without being worried about at-tahara at all. That's why I said initially that part, these 2 avenues between As-Safa and Al-Marwa, were separate from the masjid. But it's always recommended to have tahara and wudu throughout the entire time, especially in those sacred places and sacred times. So it is recommended a person would have wudu before making sa'i.
Well, thank you, Sheikh. This is a very good introduction to the issue of as-sa'i, and I want to continue talking about this after we come back from a break. I know there's probably many more details that we need to know and need to benefit from. So please stay with us and we'll be back in just a minute. Assalamu alaikum.
إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب رب العالمين.
Indeed, your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and earth in 6 days and then established himself above the throne. He covers the night with the day, another night chasing it rapidly, and he created the sun, the moon, and the stars, subjected by his command. Unquestionably, his is the creation and the command. Blessed is Allah, Lord of the worlds.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. We're talking about as-sa'i. There are a few recommended acts that you mentioned during at-tawaf. One was at-tiba, which was folding the garment from the right shoulder underneath the arm, and also al-ramal in terms of running briskly, moving briskly. Do these acts apply at all to as-sa'i as well?
Well, concerning al-ittiba', it is only limited to the very first tawaf, the arrival tawaf, as we agreed. It's not even practiced in any other tawaf. But al-ramal, in the first 3 rounds in tawaf. When we come to as-sa'i, we will notice that amongst the recommended acts, there are some green markers that a person would see on the way between as-safa wal-marwa. In between these 2 green markers, it is recommended for a sa'i, for the male pilgrim or the male person who is performing umrah, to jog, which will be faster than just walking briskly. Between these 2 green areas, those markers. A woman should not do that at all, of course. While doing sa'i, going back and forth, one should keep his tongue and heart busy with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no specific dua that's recommended to say or to be recited, but you may recite Quran, you may recite istighfar, or any adhkar that you remember. But do not think that there is a specific supplication for each trip. This is not described at all in the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he's the one who said that, take the rites of Hajj step by step from me, not from anyone else.
There's also an issue anytime we have these acts of worship that require a good deal of labor or work. Some people aren't capable of it. For instance, someone might be in a wheelchair. Perhaps someone just gets tired and needs rest. Is it permissible for these people to continue in their normal way through this rite?
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. This is a beautiful glad tidings Allah have delivered to all of us. Allah does not lay any commands on any soul beyond its capacity. So if a person cannot stand, he may sit on a wheelchair, can be carried by others, as long as he goes in the same direction between as-safa wal marwa. That applies to at-tawaf too as well. While being healthy, if you feel that you cannot do it anymore, it's very, very crowded, you need to take a break, you may do that. And if you notice that in this beautiful picture, you see the green markers, this is the area where the men should jog in between, back and forth in every single trip, throughout the 7 trips between as-safa wal marwa. On both sides, you will find that Zamzam water everywhere, cold and regular. So you enjoy sitting, taking a break, drinking from Zamzam water and making supplications after supplications. It is very, very enjoyable indeed. Keep in mind that in the same place, Hajar used to walk in between the 2 hills, but it was not paved, it was not air conditioned, there was no marble on the floor, there were no fans and shade, it was desert, pebbles and stones. But she trusted Allah the Almighty. So while you're performing sa'i, reflect upon those beautiful practices of the righteous people and focus on one thing: how to be a better servant of Allah the Almighty.
Well, as we've done for some of the other components of this program, we have a short video dealing with some of the misconceptions or the problems in the way that as-sa'i is performed. So, inshallah, we'll go to that now. And Sheikh, if you could just comment and kind of direct us to the issues at hand.
As we see here, Somebody have raised his right hand.